Well, hi, Jenna.
Well, hi, Shelby. Welcome back to ACOMAF, or Court of Mist and Fury,
Part 2. Woohoo! We had so many thoughts on this one.
Yeah, lots of really good theories for us. If you haven't already watched part 1, we recommend starting with that. But with that, let's go ahead and get into it.
Yay! Okay, I love it.
Just as a reminder, if you have not finished all of the Sarah J Maas universe, so that means all of Crescent City, Throne of Glass, and ACOTAR, we recommend finishing those before you listen to this podcast. There will be spoilers for all 3 series in this episode. So make sure to cover those first before you come back.
Definitely. And on that note, spoilers from here on. Spoilers. All right, let's get into it. Have you seen the theory that Lucian is a spell cleaver?
Ooh, I could see that too. I mean, I had some questions I wrote down too, just about his eye and what power his eye might have.
Exactly, because I guess Tamlin gave him the eye, but we don't know
anything else.
No, not in this book.
No, but there's a couple times where, I don't know, people are just mentioning his gaze with the metal eye. Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't know, does it detect powers or bonds or lies or what?
Like it does something. Because Farrah asked him multiple times about the eye and what it does. And he's like, oh, you don't need to be worried about that.
Yeah.
Basically. But like when she gets back to the spring court, immediately Lucian is like, I see you.
Yes,
I know what you're doing.
Yes. And there's multiple times where Lucian kind of does that, because I think when they're all first around the cauldron and Tamlin and Lucian walk in, there was something weird about how Lucian looked at Rhys and Farrah, and so I feel like he also noticed in that moment. He's like, oh, they're mates. Like he saw that even if Tamlin didn't.
Yep.
And so again, I don't know if that's part of the eye, giving him extra
abilities
senses,
to like
spidey senses.
Things. Yeah,
I don't know.
And then we also talk about how Elaine is a seer.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't that be interesting to have the two seers together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting reading this one after I know we've talked a lot about who do we think Elaine's real mate is, because obviously in this book, Lucian claims himself as her mate, and she does look to him when she crawls out of the cauldron.
Yes.
However,
and it was so apparent when she like comes out of the cauldron. He looks at her and she looks at him. And
he looks at her.
He looks at him.
But
so he like comforts her when she comes out of the cauldron, and it seems like mutual. Like it doesn't seem like weird.
Yeah. I'd say half mutual.
You'd say half.
Because she does lean away from him at first, and then he gives her like the jacket or whatever, and then she kind of is looking at him. But earlier in the book, I forgot how many moments there are of like interaction between Azrael and Elaine also.
Yeah.
Kind of in the same way that there's a lot of interaction with Nesta and Cassian.
Oh, I was noticing the same exact thing. Like lots of interaction where like they would look to each other for advice. They would look for each other for confirmation. Mm-hmm. I was like, dang. Or even like when Elaine is like, oh, how's you? Azrael is like, thank you. Or he even says something. I think he even calls her beautiful or something like that.
Well, and Farrah even makes a comment like in her own mind about how she thinks Elaine might even like Night Court but she would have to talk to, Azrael or whatever to get away from the crazies, something to that point. And she makes a comment about that too.
Yeah. And Farrah also makes a comment, and I want to say it's like at that same part where like, oh, they would fit really well together. Mm-hmm. And then she also says the same thing about Nesta and Cassian later when she's fighting Cassian, and she's like, the same like
fire.
Silver and flames and steel.
The silver and flames.
Oh no, it was flames and steel is what she says.
I was just I know, that's why I was laughing.
Oh my god. Flames and steel is that's what she said.
Yeah.
Hey, it is silver flames.
I am curious, but because we know, since we have this overlap of like the Maas universe, we know that SJM has confirmed that people can have 2 mates. More than one mate, and she confirmed it in an interview.
What?
And
oh my god.
2, we know that with magic, mating bonds can be faked. So there's art. I'm not sold, that for sure that's the direction it'll go. Yeah. But I think there are enough loopholes for Lucian to not be the final mate, whether it's fake by magic or, he dies and she has another one, or maybe she just actually has 2 mates. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize people could have 2 mates.
Yeah, she said in an interview.
Oh my gosh. That would be so interesting. There is a theory going around that Rhys put the thought into rewired Lucian's brain to be like, say she's your mate, say she's your mate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, but I thought his powers were tied up too. Oh no, because Farah had broken that.
Farah had already broken the shields.
Was that before or after they went through the cauldron?
I can't remember at this point. But I can go back and look.
Hold that thought.
Right as Elaine comes out, Lucian, before he talks about anything about her being his mate, he goes, don't just leave her on the damn floor. And then he takes off his jacket, kneeling before her. And so they were like face to face. Like, he's like, oh, you're my mate, which is exactly what happened when Rhys and Farah had when they were trying to escape under the mountain. And he looks at her directly in the eyes. He was like, oh fuck, that's my mate. Which is almost the same exact thing that happens here. But then, so do you remember when Rhys is talking about in chapter 54 everything that kind of happened under the mountain, which sobbing, and he's talking about how Amarantha had the same spells she had gotten from Hybern.
Yes.
Because she was one of his soldiers or whatever.
Yes.
Commanders or something. And he said that so much of my power was locked up that the only the rest of my power that I had, I used every single minute of every single day to shield out people from Valaris. So even if his power is locked up, he's still got all of this other power that he can do with, but he doesn't let people know that. And so I think that unless it was an extremely dire situation, like Farah's about to die, I think he's not going to show people that. And so I still think there's a good possibility that he could go into Lucian's mind and be like, say that's your mate. Who knows?
Yeah. I'll keep my mind open to it.
Right? I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if I now saw that.
Yeah. That would make things interesting too. If he's the one faking their bond, basically, by forcing Lucian to be like that.
Exactly, because later on, Lucian is like, where is she? Where is she? Where is Elaine? But then he doesn't go Rhys literally sends I would break the world for you. I would rip the world in half to come and try to find you. Lucian doesn't really do that.
I gotta read the rest of the books to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta be refreshed.
Right. I'm maybe I'm just missing something. Maybe he is more adamant in the next couple of books to find her, but I
just don't remember. Yeah, I gotta read. I think the next ones to remember on those ones. Those are one of those I gotta pause.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But okay, one other thing I know that we were talking about maybe a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Papa Archeron.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What was Papa Archeron doing on the continent? That came up multiple times. And
now that we know the continent.
The continent is actually a different place on the map. So I'm an idiot.
No.
But I want to know what he was doing because he comes up a lot as being over there and doing something with people.
But the girls don't really know what he's doing.
The girls don't really know what he's doing. I don't really remember that in Act of War we find out what he was doing either. And there are some other key players on the continent that get brought up, and we know so little about it. I really want to know what he's doing.
I know. Well, and the continent is so large.
So much larger than
so much, yes. And we know so much about Prythian. We know that the queens come from the continent. We know that there are mortal lands and fairy lands on the continent. But if you look at the map,
there's not very much on it.
There's not very much
labeled
on it. Exactly. But it's crazy because it's where the queens are. I think that that's actually in the fairy realm. I didn't think that was in the mortal lands.
You don't think they were that far south?
Yeah, I thought they were like up north, like, but they couldn't have been above the wall. But we do know a little bit about Valahan, because isn't that where Draken and Miriam go?
No, they're on an island.
They're on an island.
But that's where Ianthe goes with her family when they escape, so that they don't have to go under the mountain.
Okay.
And so her and her mother and father and 2 sisters, is that what it is?
She escapes before anything happens.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's another... that's what I'm saying. There's enough interesting comments about things happening on the continent. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just like a breeze, like, oh, they just weren't around. Yeah. Or if there's something important happening over there that maybe the people of Prythian aren't privy to.
Yeah, that would be so interesting to like keep in mind, because I wonder if we actually learn more in Akabor and in Silver Flames about what's going on the continent, and we just didn't pay attention to it in the first time.
That's definitely been a big question of mine, though.
Yeah, me too for sure, especially after like the Mortal Queens come and talk about the continent and Papa Archeron. Like, there's multiple times where he is like either sending things to the continent or he's going there himself, and he's gone for a very long time. Or when he comes back with Fae help. That was interesting. How'd you find that?
We'll talk about that in the next book.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Yeah, he's got more going on than I think we realized.
Oh, he definitely does. There's a lot going on. That's crazy. Did you notice that the Book of Breathing, so you have the 2 halves of the book, right? Which brings me into like a couple of topics. So you have
That's exactly where I was going to go, by the way. So
oh my,
that was good timing.
We're always on the same page. Did you notice that it called Feyre the Princess of Carrion? That basically means shit, doesn't it?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Carrion? I'm pretty sure Carrion means like animal
Where did
shit.
he call her that?
When she like is first talking to it, and it's like, I know you, Princess of Carrion.
No, I'm pulling it up to see. And so at Lady of Night, assuming that's Feyre.
Yeah.
Fanged Beast, I'm assuming that's Nesta. And Trembling Fawn, I'm assuming that's Elaine. But that's where, those are the ones that I had. But I did think those conversations with the book were interesting.
Yes, I thought they were so interesting.
And because they also talked about how putting the pieces together, was going to be so bad, and it was going to bring some, have such a blast of power that it was going to draw all sorts of things that had been slumbering. It makes me wonder what creatures are going to come now that the book is together, and together with the cauldron and stuff too.
Well, and then how I was getting so angry when they're like at the cauldron and she puts the books together. I was like, oh, don't you? That was the one thing that you were not supposed to do, and you freaking did it anyway. I was getting very angry. It's like, what the hell?
But not many people have the ability to wield them anyways, because they have to be made, right? To be able to use the book. Isn't that what they kept talking about with like calls to like? That only people who are made could use the book. So really only Amren and Feyre that we know of, and Jurian, I guess.
Yeah. I didn't think that it was... I think it was like calls to like, as in like they can wield the powers of it. But I think other people could still like use the book, but not in the capacity that like maid could. Like, because when they talk about like the feet of the cauldron and stuff, like when it's all together, like the cauldron calls to Feyre. But I think that just gives them like a different kind of relationship rather than like the ability to use it or not.
Oh, no, not the cauldron, the book specifically. I thought that's why it was so important that it was Feyre, and that Feyre was willing to do this, because Amren and Feyre were the only ones who were made, as was the book.
Well, Amren was the only one that could read it because it was in that old language, that old language, do you think it was word marks?
Maybe. I have had that question too, for sure. I also thought it was interesting that the Book of Breathings nullifies Amren's power in the same way that's supposed to nullify the cauldron's power.
That's interesting.
And that the cauldron was supposed to be like where the world was created and magic is contained and pure energy and all these things.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why I have this, could Amren be more god level than just a creature level?
That would be super interesting. And when Amren first goes to read that, like, the book, she, like, gets really uncomfortable when she's like, oh my God, this language hasn't been spoken in over 5,000 years. And she's like, I don't even know if I remember this language. I think it might be word marks, because Feyre talks about how it looks like it's different markings. I was like, that sounds like something else we kind of know. I was like, that's interesting. I really want to find where he calls her the Princess of Carrion.
Okay. I'll wait.
It was the cauldron that calls her Princess of Carrion on 586. Oh, no. The paper trembled as I pulled the book from my pocket as my fingers brushed the half of the book inside. Sweet-tongued liar, lady of many faces. Yes, you see now, Princess of Carrion. You see what you must do. The other one. Bring the other one. Let us be joined. Let us be free. Lovely girl, beautiful bird, so sweet, so generous. Together, together, together. Princess of Carrion. That basically means princess of shit. I'm like, what? Like, why did you call her that?
Maybe because of the whole worm thing. That's where my mind would go.
Or fake princess.
She's not fake, though. I mean, she's a high lady.
I know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, good.
Sorry, I was like, I knew that I saw it somewhere because I wrote it down.
What else? What else you got? I also... What else did I have? Bone carver. We haven't even talked about the bone carver at all.
Oh my gosh, we haven't even talked about the bone carver.
So when they go to the prison and they're looking for the bone carver to try and answer basically how they can nullify the cauldron or more information about the cauldron and the book and all that jazz. And when he's so interested in where Feyre goes when she dies. And it makes you wonder, who is the bone carver looking for? Or what world or realm were they looking for? Right.
Because he's like, was anybody else there?
Yeah.
Where did you go? Did you feel anything? Did you have a body?
She's like, lot of questions.
Yeah, the only thing Feyre says is she had that tug and she pulled back on it and saw through Rhys's eyes and came back.
Right.
But I also thought it was really interesting when I was reading that part. I noticed that he asked Feyre a lot of questions, right? Rhys steps in and goes, okay, like, you're done. You've asked how many questions? And he counts them out. He's like, you've asked her 6 questions. Like, time to ask you. They only ask him 2 or 3 questions. They don't actually ask him the 6 because it was supposed to be like a question for a question type of thing. But, like, they don't get all the questions out. And so I'm like, did Rhys go back without Feyre and ask him more questions later on?
Ooh, that would be pretty wild. Yeah, that would be pretty wild, except that, I don't know. I was going to say because they brought Feyre because they didn't think that Rhys would have anything interesting enough that the bone carver would share information. But then on the flip side, the bone carver also says, you were always my favorite of your kin, and like some other comments like that about liking Rhys more. And those comments I also found a little bit odd.
Because Rhys made it laugh. And he goes, tell me a secret nobody else knows. And he goes, my knee hurts sometimes. And he's like, oh my gosh. And like slaps his knee. And he's like, you were always my favorite. Yeah. So he clearly has an affinity for him.
Right. But it kind of makes you wonder too then if he's comparing it to other Fae who have come there or other of like Rhys's family who has come to ask questions. So clearly the bone carver knows a lot. Yeah. I've also heard, I'm going to wait until we read Crescent City to dig in a lot, but I've heard some theories that maybe the bone carver is the god of truth from Crescent City. So the god of truth has been missing from Midgard for eons, whatever, for a long time. And when they talk about the catacombs in Crescent City that have been built by the god of truth, it's like all made of bone and stuff, and it's all described really similarly to the bone carver's jail cell in the prison.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's also the very first thing that Rhys says to Farah is don't lie to him. Whatever you do, don't lie to him, which would kind of make sense for the God of truth.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I found it really interesting that Rhys had the calf bone of the Midgard worm or whatever, whatever it was. He had the bone, the last bone that she used to kill the worm. And she goes, I didn't even realize. So Rhys had this planned, right? So he knew right away what was going to happen. Like, I might need this someday. How cunning and conniving, Rhys.
Smart. Well, I mean, if you know that you're doing dealings with someone who is specifically interested in bones, that's a pretty interesting bone to keep.
Yeah, but I thought it was really, the fact that I thought was super interesting, like, yeah, he got it, but, like, he brought Farah, he's like, yeah, this is what she used to kill it in the first, and I was like, this was all set up. You knew all this was going to happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which makes me wonder more about Rhys's powers. Like, there's just so much that we don't know.
Right.
Don't see.
We know, well, and when they're walking into the Court of Nightmares, which, oh God, haven't even talked about that scene. But when
spicy notes.
I know. When everyone is waiting, you know, and then all of a sudden Rhys walks in, and Farah makes a lot of comments about, like, oh, he's like always has a handle on his power, like he like almost never just lets it free like this, and that's one of the only times that I think we really see Rhys use his powers, or at least like let his powers kind of rest at full. I don't know. Go.
Is when he's got the. No, he didn't have the wings because nobody knows he has the wings.
No.
Crazy to me. Yeah. Nobody knows he's got these wings.
But he does kind of let the rest of the power of the shadows. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like the first time that it sinks in for Farah, like, oh shit, he really is that much more powerful than everybody else. And
he like keeps some of it on lock, but lets other pieces out when it's necessary. Yeah, I thought that was really crazy.
But also that scene.
Oh
my God.
Oh my gosh. That made me like blush.
Oh, yes. That definitely made me blush. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Like, okay, I think every girl loves like that slow teasing. Yes. And so when he just like kept moving his hands and she's like thinks in her mind, like, oh no, don't go further up. Like, you're going to notice. Yeah. And he's like, it's okay. It's just your body reacting.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was so, honestly, that like, it's just your body reacting was so sweet though, because you know, you have to remember what he was having to do for Amarantha, and he's like, you know, I was so good I made her think that I liked it too. Yeah. And so he's remembering what his body had to do when he was not liking it. So I'm sure that was actually like a moment of respect. That almost cooled it off for me at that moment.
Did it?
Yeah, but it was the leading up to that I was like.
See, that the quote made it even hotter for me because I was like, he knows she's uncomfortable and he's like, it's natural, it's okay. Like, let your body do it. It's fine. Like,
my favorite was when she's like, why'd you stop?
Oh my gosh, I know. Why'd you stop? I was liking that.
Yeah. That was the part that got me.
I loved it. When they're both just like in their own little world, like touching each other.
And then he's just sitting here with the glass of wine, like, he's like, do you want this still? Like, can I look away?
I pictured him like on a stage, like literally holding it like this the whole time. That was so funny.
It was really funny.
And I didn't realize how long he had been standing.
A long time. He was standing there for a long time.
Could you imagine that, like, they're standing up there and, like, everybody in the court is just, like, standing around this throne just, like, oh, man. Yeah. If you're that good, if you're that good that you can take my mind out of the entire crowd of people watching me, all right.
Snaps for you.
Snaps for you.
I forgot when she's like, oh, so that comment about wingspan matching that.
Oh,
that really
my God.
true.
That was so funny.
Yeah, that was cute too. Although there were a couple, there's like just a couple lines in chapter 55 that are like just the tiniest bit cringe.
Which one's for you?
For me, just because it was like felt too forced. The like, oh yeah, next time I'll take you up against the wall. So hard. She's
like,
just because I can't actually imagine that sentence coming out of someone's mouth.
No.
So I read it this time. I was like, ooh. Okay, that was a little bit.
Well, because later too, she goes, She goes, I thought you were going to take me up against the wall.
Yeah. Like, they're banging everywhere. She's going to question that.
I know. Like, you're going to really question where it is. Although the scene where he was, like, eating her out on top of the, like, splayed on the kitchen table or whatever, like, with all the paint.
His own personal feast.
Wow. Wow. I loved that part.
Yeah. I also liked when they're washing the paint off, and I'm so jealous of the giant tub. The giant
bathtub. Me too.
Really jealous of that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Eventually, like, my final home will have that with the jets and everything.
100%.
I wish I had Fae power so I could keep it warm the entire time.
Yes. You gotta they have those, like, fancy jet tubs that also, like, heat the water, you know, so it keeps it warm.
I would sit in there for hours. Yeah. I really would. Mm-hmm. Before chapter 55, though, like, when they were getting all, like, sentimental and emotional in chapter 54, and he was telling her, like, everything from, like, under the mountain and how he felt and how he knew and how he still had to keep going, that broke my heart. And I know that that's, like, a very key, like, pivotal moment within the series, like, with Rhys as this morally gray character, but even, like, while I was reading it, like, in the moment, I had, like, tears streaming down my face.
Yeah,
poor
Rhys went through so much.
He went through so much, and, like, this kind of, like, full circle goes back to, like, how Rhys is handling all of his trauma and how Tamlin handled all of his trauma, and Rhys is like, well, I've been going through shit for the past God knows how long, and it's like he still is, like, able to put himself, like, in the passenger seat and let Feyre, like, handle her own healing, which is exactly what she needs instead of being, like, this, like, giant protector. Wow.
Although on the healing side, one of my favorite tropes in this book. The soothe from the nightmare.
I know how it comes full circle.
I know, and then she does it for him too. I'm like, it's so sweet.
Because he does it for her early on in the book, and he's like, Feyre, it's only a nightmare. And she says the exact same thing to him. And she's like, it's only a nightmare, it's okay. And she uses her power to stop
soothe him.
Yeah.
It's like a calming night sky that she does or whatever.
And she, like, looks at him and she starts to notice all of his tattoos, and she, like, notices, like,
starts
on his
looking
knees.
down too.
She's like, okay. Everything beside that. Wingspan.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, because then not after that, after they talk about the wings, that's when he, like, tells her how sensitive
they are. I love what she calls him a Lyrian baby. I think it's so funny.
God. Even in, like, the sexy time, she's like, I didn't know grown men were such Illyrian babies. So what did you think about the one-in scene?
The what?
Or, like, the one bed trope at the end.
I forgot that happened in this book. I did not. That's so another trope in here. I totally forgot that ACOMAF has
because when we were talking about our favorite tropes, and you're like, I don't remember that from McIntyre.
I didn't. Also, yeah, that was a nice treat. Scenes. Yeah, I remember now.
When he's like, okay, that's another cringy.
That was the other one. He's like, gonna yell so loud that I shake the
mountains. I'm gonna roar and shake the mountains. Yeah, it was like
his growls of pleasure drowned out the sounds of the dying.
It's like like, I don't picture. Do you remember when we got super drunk and we were doing ledge and we were growling?
Oh my God.
In one of our previous episodes, we spent 30 minutes doing ASMR and then growling into the microphones, and most of it was cut out, and so it's really funny.
If you have read Ledge by Stacey, I always forget her last name,
Stacey McKeown.
Yes, Stacey. If you've read that book, you should go listen to the episode because it's probably our funniest one.
We were trashed.
We were very drunk.
So funny.
Speaking of, what are you drinking tonight?
Oh yeah. Well, so I am drinking Meiomi Pinot Noir, and delicious. I figured it would be great since when you mentioned Night Court earlier, I was like, look how dark this red wine is. It kind of looks like blood. Like Amren. Cheers.
This looked a little bit more violet in the bottle.
I love it.
But it's a grape raspberry lemonade sparkling.
I love it.
But it looked, so that was for the violet eyes.
Yes, because you're doing mocktails right now.
Yep.
I love it. I was like, I'm bringing wine. It's been a day.
As you should.
Oh yeah, I love it. It's so funny though. But yeah, he growls.
Oh my god.
The growls just kill me.
They do kill me.
Especially because like everyone kind of does them at one point, and I'm like, I know so many people on TikTok have done it to where it's like actually supposed to sound like a growl, but I literally just like picture like and I'm like, I could never take it seriously.
Okay, but Gianni growled once.
Oh,
you remember that?
Yes.
During the lunch episode.
Yeah. We totally cut it out, unfortunately. But he definitely did. And we were
that
like,
wasn't that bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just fan myself off really quick.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, that was the same night that he was doing the
door
doorway. Frame.
Oh, what a goof.
Oh my god, that was so funny. So we've got the Court of Nightmares spicy scene. We've got the inn. I loved when he was like, I can pleasure you and I don't have to pleasure myself. Mm-hmm. Even though he's like hard as hell and he's like, please don't touch me because I will come.
Yes. Oh god, you know what we haven't talked about at all?
What?
The cereal?
Oh my god, our girl with the tea.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So in our last YouTube video, have you watched it yet? I put up the
picture.
Yes.
Nice.
Of her like in the new cloak with the tea.
Her?
I don't know. She's our girl with the tea.
Okay.
I don't think it's got a gender. I'm just gendering this.
Okay.
I'm misgendering it right now.
Yikes. But
who knows?
Yes, the cereal in that whole scene though. Again, it's like, oops, you got me.
XOXO Gossip Girl. That was so funny. I think she was definitely caught on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Like, oops.
For sure. And Farrah's like, no, just actually tell me. What am I supposed to be grabbing here? You gotta be more specific than that.
I love it because it starts to give her riddles and whatnot, and she's like, no.
And then she's like, oh yeah, no, like your mate will hear faster if you chew on this.
Your mate.
Yeah. And then he's like, you didn't know? Oh, wow, so interesting.
Did I not say to stay with the High Lord?
But okay, so now that we've read another book too, what do you think? Do you think it was a like double meaning?
I think it was a double meaning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still think it was a double meaning.
Kind of like we talked about in the first one though, like if she were to just like go with the course, the first book, like you'll end up at the trials, you'll get there, and then now it's like, yeah, stay with this High Lord because this is your mate, this is your guy, like this is who you have to stay with now. Yeah, definitely. I think it was double meaning.
I loved that scene though. And then she's just pissed. Okay, did you think it was fair that she was that pissed at him for not sharing that?
No, I didn't, because like we talked about this entire episode, Rhys really just lets Feyre do her own healing.
Yeah.
And at no point have they, really expressed their, like, interest for each other. And as soon as they do, he's like, I was going to tell you. Like, this is what I was going to tell you before I got shot down. Out of the sky.
Yeah. And she was the one who had just said, I just want fun and distraction.
Which, like, okay, heartbreak.
Yeah.
Ripped my heart out of my chest. Holy shit. That hurt.
Yeah.
Especially because while she said it, I knew, because I've read the book, I was like, I know what he's thinking. So that was really sad. But yeah, I don't know. I think he was really waiting until she was ready to hear it. And I think her immediately after she says, I will never leave you, leaves him.
Yeah.
I was like,
that was tough. Well, he's like all hurt and stuff too.
Like, literally can barely stand up. Like, Cassian has to, like, lift him up. And he's like, Feyre, no.
I was kind of pissed at Feyre for leaving then. I thought
and she stayed there for, like, a week.
Yeah, she was there for a long time. I thought that was kind of unfair.
I did, too. Just casually painting horribly all up in the cabin.
I think it's so funny that everybody just assumes Feyre is a terrible artist.
It makes it so funny.
It makes it so much funnier when you think about the fact that she's just like painting all over this house. And everybody walks in and they're like, wow, you were busy.
Well, because Morris specifically says when she walks in, wow, you've been busy. And it says that she just kind of like walks in and just like
looks around.
Like uncomfortably looks around. She goes, why did you paint Amren's eyes?
That's the thing. It's like you could read that with so many different inflections in your voice.
Well, add mine too.
And then I love that Moore adds her stick figure too.
I thought that was so funny. I pictured when Moore was walking around. Have you seen the movie Daddy Daycare? When you've probably like seen the scene where he walks in and there's like pee all over the walls, and he walks in and he's like, and it's like dun 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 dun, dun.
Oh, like horror movies.
Yeah. Where Moore's like looking around like, oh, what have you done? What have you done?
And everybody's just like, yeah, okay.
Good job. I don't even think Rhys comments on it when he first walks in.
I don't think he does either, actually.
He's just like,
he's like, all right.
Okay.
Bang. Soup,
yeah.
Then bang.
Yeah. And then he tells her everything and he's like, so soup. And she's like, eat up, bitch.
Yep.
If you love me, then eat.
I love that that's the meal, though, is a can of soup.
I know. When they say that, like, for, like, other people that have, like,
it's like a whole big ceremony and whatever. Yeah.
She's like, here, have some soup.
But it was right for them, so.
I think so, too. I think it was really cute. And I love that, like, after that, they get, like, their time alone. But I did not remember how fast they go to Hybern.
Same.
The next freaking day.
Yeah, I didn't remember that was, like, such a quick turnaround from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then they make her High Lady of the Night Court.
But no one knows. We never
get a wedding.
We don't get one even in Frost and Starlight or anything? They just skip over it?
Yes.
Oh, also, so funny that in this book, when she's like, I'm not taking the tonic. Or whatever, 'cause every fantasy book, you can't just say birth control. It's the tonic or the
pregnancy tonic.
Yeah, there's something, right?
Yeah.
And she specifically says that she doesn't want to get pregnant yet. She's like, oh, well, I want to have time with you and, experience life together and stuff. Bitch, you get pregnant like one book later. I don't want to hear it.
And it's like the least exciting trope ever. And I love the trope. Same. And I'm like, okay, we definitely talked about this when we were finishing this because it was like, bitch, you literally were just saying you don't want to get. And Rhys was the one that was like, well, if you ever want to do, I would love some kids. Uh-huh. And she's like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's not even a year later.
So like, that part was funny for me too, just knowing what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Me too, for sure. There have been some questions on TikTok because the bone carver is he shows up as like a little boy, right? And later on we find out who that little boy is. But there have also been like really big questions because who she sees isn't necessarily how Rhys is described. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering.
But I thought it wasn't supposed to be Rhys as a kid. I thought it was supposed to be their kid.
Right.
But so isn't it supposed to be a combination of their features then?
Yeah. But doesn't she, like... So the kid is described as, like, having, like, these icy blue violet eyes, right? And then black hair, no wings. And I'm missing a descriptor. But there's something in there that, like, makes it, like, questionable.
Oh.
And then later on, the bone carver is like, "Oh yeah, here's who that is."
Oh, is it in the next book that he says who she's supposed to be seeing? I'll have to watch for that then when we read it this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he shows up as Jurian
to Rhys.
Yeah. Which, why do you think
feels random? Yeah, I did not understand that.
I didn't either. If you're showing up as a little boy for Feyre, and then you're showing up as Jurian, like. Maybe it's supposed to be, like, really important people that are, like, gonna, like, change your lives. But, like...
That's a good question. People you're scared of, maybe? I don't know. Maybe Feyre's scared of kids.
Which is why she doesn't want to have kids in this book?
I don't know.
Maybe.
That is interesting. That is interesting. I kind of forgot that it was Jurian. I think because I know that Jurian dies and stuff in the next book. Mm-hmm. And same with some of the characters that die in the next couple books, at least, that have been out so far, that I...
Do you think the little boy is going to die?
No, I was just going to say, so I didn't pay as close attention to them because I knew that they were going to be off at some point.
They're going to be off. That's funny.
Well, I'm trying to remember to use words that won't get us banned. Yep. Yep.
We cannot use the M word anymore.
No, can't use the M word.
Yeah, we could say red rum.
Yeah, red rum. That's what we should use instead. Yes, red.
Oh
red
my gosh.
rum.
Red rum.
Red rum.
That was so funny. TikTok just like banned us for that one word.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was on their selected words, I think. Yep.
I, for some reason, was so much more terrified of the Weaver this time around.
Me too.
Like, knowing what it is that she can do. I, like, pictured this, like, little old lady in a house. But then, like, the way that Farrah describes her was, like, young.
Young, but with an old shriveled face.
Yeah.
Which is like, way creepier.
Terrifying. And how Farrah was just, like, so smart. Like, when she went into the house, like, I probably wouldn't have had that instinct to just, like...
look for exits and whatever.
Exactly. I'd just be like, oh, I'm going to go in and just, like, grab this thing. And what does she go in to freaking get?
Her own engagement ring.
Oh, like, what? I understand that Rhys, like, later talks about how his mother, like, made him do it and made him go put it in there because his mate will be an equal and she'll be able to retrieve it and whatever. But
about whatever. Yes, but that was pretty traumatizing. Also that he's like so far away. Then she's out and she's freaking out and covered in stuff. And he's like, hey, good job. You did it.
And she has to like run away. And then he like winnows back in. Like he was really far away. He was like, really far, if you need me, I'll be here. He wasn't.
Yeah, didn't like that either. Although it was interesting too because he said that the Weaver shouldn't be able to notice you until if you didn't touch anything else. But as soon as she even touched the ring, then she noticed. But maybe it's just because the ring wasn't hers.
But the ring called to her. Like,
right, but it wasn't hers, though. Like, she didn't put it there. Or it wasn't hers, it was Rhys's. Right? And so I wonder if that's why she still noticed. So it just made me wonder if she always notices or if Farrah truly had only touched things that, like, had been hers or then something. If it wouldn't have noticed. I don't know.
Interesting.
It's kind of interesting.
Well, there is another point where I think she either like cuts the Weaver or
Black
something.
Blood.
Yep, that was exactly what I was gonna go for. Because don't the witches from Throne of Glass, or do they have blue blood? Who bleeds black blood?
I thought Val bled black blood. Wow, that's a really that's a tongue twister.
Wow.
Black blood. Yeah, that was something I was gonna have to watch for. But I'm not gonna reread Throne of Glass, so
no,
I don't have enough time for that, so I don't remember.
Gosh, now I don't even remember either. But yeah, that's interesting. It's different.
It was notable,
very notable, and very different. There's been a lot, like on the note of Valg, there's been a lot of comparison between Maeve and Rhys. I thought was very interesting. And like, so we know that Rhys's mother and his sister, their heads were sent to him, but I think that they could easily be faked. Like deaths can be faked, and like, what if they're still alive?
So who would you think faked them? Because didn't he? Oh no, he wasn't there when he got murdered.
The heads were just sent to him.
Yeah, and the wings were in Spring Court
somewhere.
Don't they retrieve them in the next book or something?
I didn't think so.
Oh, for some reason I thought I remembered retrieving them.
I don't remember. I mean, maybe when we go back and read ACOMAF, we'll see that happen. But I don't remember if they actually find the wings or not. But yeah, I mean, people can have their wings cut off though.
They can, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm curious to like, what if some of Rhys's family is there and we're just sent into another world? And so Maeve is trying to get back.
So you think Maeve is his mom, his sister? Who do you think Maeve is related to him?
No, I think family maybe of some sort, just because they
but not like immediately family.
Or it could be his mom, or it could be his sister. There are lots of theories that his sister was maybe Azriel or Cassian's first mate.
Oh,
which that's interesting and really sad.
That's really sad. I know. I wish we could know more about Rhys's sister.
I know, because we don't really know that much about her. Yeah. But people have lots of theories about her.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm sold that I think she's alive, but I'm hoping that maybe we'll learn a little more about her.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because it definitely seems like she was really close with like Cassian and Azriel and more and everybody. But yeah. We don't know like anything about her.
Not really.
Interesting. But SJM does do a lot where she like gives you like, hey, here's a character.
Dribbles a little bit.
Yeah, and then like really later on you find out like, oh.
They actually mattered.
They actually mattered. A crazy theory I just saw on TikTok today was the King of Hybern is, what's it, Holland? Billiard?
Yes, the younger brother of Dorian.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that too. I was going to wait until
later.
Until the next book when we see a little bit more of Hybern.
Yeah.
To try and compare. But again, it's hard because it's been so long since I've read Throne of Glass. I don't remember anything about him.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, in Throne of Glass, there really wasn't much about him anyway.
Right.
Other than he just, like, kind of looked like Dorian. Mm-hmm. Which, like, the King of Hybern is kind of described like that. We just don't... All we know about his eyes is they're, like, unemotional.
Mm-hmm.
So
and he's dark hair and ruddy skin. That's all we know.
That's all we really know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious about the King of Hybern too, but the King of Hybern dies in the next book, right?
Yeah, from Elaine.
Oh, that's right. So that's another reason why some of the characters that I know die off. Mm-hmm. I'm like,
They don't matter.
I'm like trying to decide how much it's worth trying to compare them to the other universes. So I'm like, they're already dead. Will they be important? I don't know.
That's really interesting. Mm-hmm. Two of the characters that are like literally my absolute favorite that I caught a lot of like character description on was Cassian and Azriel when Feyre first meets them.
Yep.
And so she first says like both of them were tall, their wings tucked in tight to powerful muscled bodies covered in plated dark leather that reminded me of the worn scales of some serpentine beast. Identical long swords were strapped down the column of their spines, the blade beautiful in their simplicity. Perhaps I needn't have bothered with the fine clothes at all, because she realizes, like...
Mm-hmm. The dress she was wearing was a little
too much. And with Cassian, she says he had shoulder-length black hair shifting with the movement. He winked at me, which I think is so funny, because it's so Cassian. Yeah. There was something rough-hewn about his features, like he'd been made of wind and earth and flame... And all these civilized trappings were little more than an inconvenience. I'm like, that is such a good description for, like, a warrior. Mm-hmm. I loved that. But then for Azriel, she says, the second male, more classically beautiful of the two, even the light shied from the elegant planes of his face, with good reason. Beautiful, but near unreadable. He'd be the one to look out for. The knife in the dark. Mm-hmm. I'm like... Is Azriel going to be the one to, like, betray them?
Oh.
Because Feyre always has these notions, right, about, like, people when she meets them. And so initially when I was like, wait, why is she saying that he's going to be the one to, like, be the knife in the back?
I don't think he's going to be bad. I think she was just sensing that he was maybe more dangerous than most people would realize because he's, like, less in your face than Cassian's strength. And I think she was more just seeing the danger for what it was. Maybe not that it was targeted at them. Okay. But I could see Az and his shadows maybe like fishing out a like traitor in the midst or something like that. Ooh, that I could see that really coming out.
Mm-hmm. That'd be really interesting. Mm-hmm. And then something else he carries is Truth Teller.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Holy cow.
I know. Well, in this book, we hear only minimal about it. Only that he has it. Yes. Everybody's scared of it, clearly.
And I'm like, why? It's a sword. It's a knife.
Yeah, that it has the runes on the handle.
The runes?
But it says that it's, later on, I realized it also says that it's, like, Illyrian runes, though. Which makes you wonder if Illyrian runes are similar to word marks or something. Yeah. But... Yeah, Truth Teller is supposed to belong with, like, the Star Sword or whatever that is in Crescent City, right? I don't remember the name of it. Oh, my gosh, what was
it called? I don't remember either. I'll have to go back. When we read Crescent City, we're going to be like, aha!
Right, but they're, like, a pair that goes together is the impression I've gotten from that. But I'm kind of, like, that's another one I'm kind of waiting till Crescent City, because I think that after ACOMAF and Crescent City, I'll, like, maybe be able to blend that a little bit better than I can memory.
Right, I know. One of the things that I thought was so interesting about Truth Teller, though, is because they talk about these runes, right? Mm-hmm. And I just really think that there's going to be, like, the runes are some sort of, like, word mark or something, because in multiple times in this book, we're given these big markings. Like, it was a different language in the book, and they looked like these symbols. And then we have the runes on Truth Teller, and Feyre hadn't seen anything like that up to this point. Mm-hmm. But then if you remember back to ACOTAR, when she talks about the entrance to their cottage, all up on the wood were markings. And I'm like, okay, Papa Archeron, why did you have word marks on your door?
Right.
Like, what if instead of like going to the continent or whatever, what if Papa Archeron was traveling to other worlds?
That could be cool. We don't know anywhere about where he's going. Sure could be.
I know. That would be so interesting.
Pretty much anytime I see runes written in here, I just assume it's word marks.
Me too.
It's like probably not really true, but that's kind of what I assume.
But I didn't think that until I read Throne of Glass. And it was so apparent, because the first thing she uses too is she says runes. And then she talks about like the symbols and whatnot. And you find out then they changed the wording to word marks. And so, yeah, I think the same exact thing. Every time I see that in the book, I'm like, oh yeah, they're using word marks. They're going to other worlds or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my goodness. So we noticed when Elaine comes out of the cauldron, when she goes in, she's like, no, no, no. Goes into the cauldron, comes out, and she's just like disoriented. And part of me thinks that she was already starting to like see things, and she's just like doesn't know what to do with herself. And we talked about how her and Lucian kind of like
have a moment.
Yep. But then like Azrael's always also like, hey, wait. When Nesta goes in, I picture her like giving the
middle finger. Yeah.
But I love all of like the fan art.
It's so funny. Like, pointing. Yeah.
It's like just
the hand above. Yeah. So funny.
And Feyre goes like she talks about how she's always been like something made different, whatever. And so she knew when she goes in and she comes out, she took something from that cauldron. That's exactly what she says when she comes out. She said she took something from that cauldron, something that it did not want to give.
Well, I think we hear more about it in the next book too.
Of
what it gave Elaine versus what Nesta took.
Oh, and I cannot wait. I can't decide if ACOMAF or ACOWAR is my favorite.
Well, Guess you'll find out soon.
I guess you'll find out. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but we're leaving off this one with Feyre back in the spring court.
Yeah.
Just Trojan horse, going to kill from within. And oh my god, it was so like cringe though, having to watch her pretend to like Tamlin again.
Ew, and I don't remember if they ever like do anything.
No, I don't think that they do. But it's pretty gross
so
still.
Grossed out. Ew. Yeah. So I hope not. Ugh. But yeah, so she's like basically going to like break everything from within. Yeah. What was your favorite part of this book?
This one? I feel like I don't know. There's like different types of favorites, right? One of the standout moments I think was a little bit into when Feyre and Rhys are like starting to kind of have this thing going on, and there's a couple scenes with the writing of notes that are like
I love that.
Super flirty and stuff that are just cute. Like they just make you kick your feet, right? So that is really sweet. But from just like impactful moments, I think when Mor comes to save her after the doors have closed, it's and that she's like locked in the house, that is like so memorable. Like it's not a positive moment, but it's just like you are so in her head and you feel so like frantic with her. Yeah. So I think that scene is like, it's sad to say that's my favorite, but it is a really good scene, I think.
We didn't really talk about that scene. Holy cow.
Yeah.
When Mor, she like basically wraps herself in darkness and scares everybody in the house.
Yeah.
And Mor goes and gets her.
Because Rhys can't, so basically start war.
Right. And I love that they had that loophole that she could get her.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're safe. You're safe.
Yeah. You're free.
You're free.
No, she says you're free, not you're safe. Yeah.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
But if you were Tamlin, wouldn't you think if you came home and your to-be wife was gone, don't you think that like he would actually think she was taken?
Yeah, except that she writes a letter like a day later.
Right, but if I received that letter and I was in Tamlin's position, I'd be like, oh, you were forced to write that.
Yeah.
That's not from you.
And that's probably why
you don't know how to read or write.
Well, and that's why he believes that, Rhys had some control over her mind, right? Is because of that. So
the fact that Rhys at the very end, like, never acknowledges he heard what Feyre said. He just goes along with it. So she's just like, go along.
He just gets it. He just gets it.
And
They're
he's like, oh
track.
my God, my head. Oh my God. How'd you do it, girl? I laughed so hard during that scene, even though I was like sobbing and I was like, because I was like,
he's like, how'd you do it?
How'd you do it?
She's like, I don't know.
What, like it's hard?
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
It's good though. It'll be fun to start off ACOWAR with her taking down Springcourt from within. That'll be fun.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited for that part too. I think my favorite part of this book was chapter 54 when he was like explaining like how long he's known and like all of like the different perspectives that you get from his point of view. I mean, it's still from Feyre's point of view, but like all of his POVs from under the mountain and just how meticulous everything that he does is. I thought that was super impactful.
I know. I think chapter 54 is really underrated. Everyone remembers chapter 55
because it's spicy.
But without chapter 54, chapter 55 does not mean as much.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Like if we didn't have all of this slow build, which we've kind of talked about earlier, like the different loves and the different types of like friendship and relationships that people can have. And I feel like before Feyre ever realizes that like Rhys is going to be a lover, she wanted him to be a friend first.
She did. Yep.
And even while she's proclaiming her love for him, she said, you are my friend. And I love that because that is what I want in a partner. And so seeing that was just so impactful. Like, you are my partner first. So I loved that. I know.
Yay.
I love it.
I loved it. Love this book once again.
Gosh, me too.
Just
so many things I didn't see.
Yeah.
The first time. So many things I'm going to be watching for. So many questions for the rest of the series too.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes again.
Me too. Which is so funny. Like, I know like the main high points that are going to happen, but like how many things did I really miss reading this the first time?
I feel like I don't actually remember very much of ACOWAR. So
really?
It'll be good.
I just remember like one big scene and I'm like, okay, what else happens? Nothing.
Yeah. Nice. Good. Well, awesome. Thanks for joining us again this week. Make sure to give us a review or subscribe if you want to keep seeing us put out content.
Yes, we're having so much fun. We like so much fun with all this ACOTAR content too. Like to finally be in on the conversation with like our own views and like bringing in theories that we hear from everybody else. So if you have any crazy fun theories, like send them over. We love it. We'll feature you in the podcast. We'll give you your like people's names if you would like us to. We can always keep it anonymous too. But yeah, this is so fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
We'll see you guys next time.